Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Caritamrta class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathānvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Amsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, we are continuing our discussion from Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta. We are on Madhya Lila, chapter 20. Lord Chaitanya instructs Sanatan Goswami. We have heard so far how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has bestowed his mercy on Rupa Goswami. In the previous chapters, he instructed Rupa Goswami at the Shashwamedh Ghat for 10 days and described wonderful principles of devotional service. He described everything based on Srimad Bhagavatam. Sab Shikhaila Prabhu Bhagavat Siddhanta. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva Pranta. Sab Shikhaila Prabhu Bhagavat Siddhanta. So based on Bhagavatam principles, Mahaprabhu explained everything to Srila Rupa Goswami, explained about the rarity of devotional service, rarity of devotee, described how the Bhaktilata peach grows into a full grown creeper, described the principles of pure devotional service, described primary and secondary mellows of bhakti, and then Rupa Goswami, he was instructed to go to Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu came to Prayag. There at Prayag, Mahaprabhu is staying at the house of Mahaprabhu came to Varanasi from Prayag. He instructed Rupa Goswami at Prayag. There, Mahaprabhu was staying at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. In this chapter, Sanatana Goswami, how he got released by bribing the jailer, by giving him 7,000 gold coins. He traveled through the jungle, came to a place called as Patara. He had to cross that hilly track. The land, there was a person, he was a landlord there, and he had a palmist. He knew that Sanatan, his servant Ishan, he had 8 gold coins. Sanatan Goswami was expert in worldly dealings. He understood that this person is very, very respectful and cordial with me. There must be something which he wants from me. He asked his servant Ishan, do you have something? He said, yes, I have 8 gold coins. He said, I have 7 gold coins. Sanatan Goswami became angry. He took 7 gold coins, gave to that landlord. Landlord became very pleased and then ultimately helped him cross this jungle. Sanatan Goswami ultimately reached Varanasi, came to the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mahaprabhu, he told Chandrasekhar, is there somebody outside? There is a Vaishnava standing, please bring him in. Chandrasekhar came out and found that there was a Muslim mendicant, Daravesh, because Sanatana Goswami had beard and he had long hair. He went back and said, Mahaprabhu, there is no Vaishnava there. There is Muslim mendicant. Mahaprabhu said, whoever is there, bring him. Sanatana Goswami, as he entered, Mahaprabhu was so very happy, embraced Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami said, oh my Lord, please don't touch me. Na chui amore. Mahaprabhu said, I am embracing you to purify myself. And ultimately, we heard how Sanatana Goswami, he was given a very costly woolen cloth by his brother-in-law at Hajipur. He exchanged that with an old torn quilt from a beggar. After staying there for some time, Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many questions. Actually, he asked 4 questions, which we heard in the last class. Keami kene amara Caritāmrta. Who am I? Why am I suffering in this world? And can you please tell me what is sadhya? What is sadhana? These are the 4 principles. So we have discussed till verse number 107. Now, Sanatana Goswami, as he asked all these questions, Mahaprabhu was so very pleased. He said, you know all these principles already. And you can actually propagate this throughout the universe. But you are asking for the welfare of people in general. So Mahaprabhu, he started explaining the answers to these questions. So rest of the chapter is answer to these 4 questions. So from 108 to verse number 119, Mahaprabhu is answering the first and second question of Sanatana Goswami. Keami, kene amara jare tapatra. And many famous verses will be coming in this section, which we have heard hundreds of times. 108 is itself the most common, oft-quoted verse. Jivera Swarup Hoye Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. So Sanatana Goswami had asked, who am I? What is my identity? Mahaprabhu is straightforward, describing what is the identity of a living entity. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nitya Das. So Jiva, the living entities, Swarupa means constitutional position, that which never changes. Constitutional means that which never changes. What is our constitutional position? Krishnera, not anyone else's, only Krishna's Nityadas. The living entity is the eternal servant of Krishna. And what else is a characteristic of this living entity? Krishnera Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti means he is the marginal energy of Krishna, and Bhed Abhed Prakash, simultaneously one and different from the Lord. Mahaprabhu gives an example. Suryamsha Kiran Yaiche Agni Jalache Swabhavika Krishnera Tina Prakara Shakti Hoye. Just like sun has sun rays, molecular particles. Similarly, Krishna, he has many potencies. 3 are prominent. Swabhavika, Krishnera, Tina Prakara Shakti. The 3 potencies of the Lord will be described in further verse. Srila Prabhupada describes, Sanatana Goswami asked, who am I? Lord is saying, you are the pure living entity. What is the Swarupa? We are not this body. We are apart from gross and subtle material coverings. Pure, uncontaminated by any of the material modes. The subtle body made up of mind, intelligence, ego, and the gross body made up of 5 elements, they have nothing to do with this material, with this soul. There is no connection between the matter and the soul. Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, he asked Shukdev Goswami in the second canto, 8th chapter, how can there be a relation between soul and the body? Soul is spiritual, body is material. How can there be a relation? Shukdev Goswami says there is no relation. The question is itself wrong. The soul experiences all the problems only because he identifies with this body. This false identification is the cause of happiness and distress. Otherwise, actually, we have nothing to do with our body, subtle and material body, subtle and gross material body. We are part and parcel. We are Krishnera Nityadas, the marginal potency of Krishna, simultaneously one and different, one in quality, different in quantity. The Lord is Vibhu, we are Anu. He is infinite, we are infinitesimal. That is the difference. And oneness is the Lord has qualities, we also have similar qualities. Of course, if we go more technically, qualitatively also, we are not same as the Lord. It will be described in future chapters that living entities can have maximum 50 qualities. The Lord has 64 prominent qualities. Living entities can have maximum 50. Rest 14, living entities can never have. So qualitatively also, we are almost one, not exactly same with the Lord. So the difference is always there. So that is how living entities, Jivera Swarupa, that is the Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha is we are constitutionally part and parcel of Krishna. And the Abhideya is we are Das. We are supposed to serve Krishna. Until when? Nitya. Eternally we are supposed to serve Krishna. So Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, everything is there in this one verse. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nitya Das. We are eternally servants of Krishna. That is our position always. That is a Prayojana. Always we are supposed to serve. Mahaprabhu continues. He gives an example. Ekadesh sthitasyagne jyotsna vistarini yatha parasya brahmana shakti tathedam akhilam jagat. Just like Ekadesh sthita, just like the fire is situated at one place, but the rays, the light spreads everywhere. The illumination of fire spreads everywhere. Ekadesh sthitasyagne jyotsna vistarini. The light, illumination spreads everywhere. Similarly, Parasya Brahmana Shakti, the Shaktis of Brahman, Supreme Brahman, they are, yes, Tathedam Akhilam Jagat, they are spread all over the universe. All the Shaktis, they are coming from Krishna, but they are spread all over the universe. This is a quotation from Vishnu Puran. Surya, the sun is at one place, spreads its light everywhere. Fire is at one place, illumination spreads everywhere. Similarly, the Lord is at one place, but the energies of the Lord are spread everywhere. Living entity is called as Sarvagataha. The living entities can go everywhere. The energies of the Lord are spread everywhere. Krishna has three types of energies. What are they? कृष्णेर स्वाभाविक तीन शक्ति परिणति चित शक्ति जीव शक्ति और माया शक्ति. Krishnera swabhavik. Krishna has three natural potencies. Teen Shakti, Parinati. These are three transformations of Krishna's energy. Krishna never gets transformed. That's the difference between Mayavad and Vaishnava philosophy. Vaishnava philosophy is Parinamavad and Mayavad is Vivartavad. Vivartavad means Lord gets transformed. The absolute truth gets transformed. But Vaishnava philosophy doesn't agree with that. The Lord never gets transformed. The energies of the Lord gets transformed. There are three types of energetic transformations. Teen Shakti, Parinati. Parinati means transformations. Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. Chit Shakti is a spiritual potency. Jiva Shakti is a marginal potency. And Maya Shakti is an external illusory potency of the Lord. Mahaprabhu quotes a verse from Vishnu Purana again. Famous quote. Prabhupada has quoted this many times. Vishnu Shakti para prokta kshetragyakya viparyaya avidya karma sangyanya tritiya shaktirishyate. Vishnu Shakti, so originally Krishna's energy is para, spiritual. Kshetra gyakya tatha para, and the energy known as living entity also spiritual. So although there are three energies, Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Maya Shakti. Chit Shakti is also spiritual. Jiva Shakti is also spiritual. And the third energy, that is Maya Shakti, that is consisting of Avidya, Karma, Sangyanya. That is made up of fruitive activity, Karma Sangya. And that is called as illusion. Tritiya Shakti, that is the Lord's third potency. So the matter or the Maya Shakti, that is consisting of the illusory energy of the Lord. It consists of fruitive activities because when the living entities, they perform some fruitive activity in a pursuit of desire to enjoy this material world, they come under this Maya Shakti. And Maya Shakti means illusory potency. Illusory potency makes one feel that one will be happy in this material world. But actually, there is no happiness. There is only illusion. Prabhupada writes that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he quoted this in his conversation with Prakashananda Saraswati. It comes in the Adi Lila, 7th chapter, verse number 119. Prabhupada quotes that in the purport. So all the creative energies of the Lord, which are inconceivable, they exist in Supreme Lord. The Lord is full of Achintya Shakti. Nobody can understand how the energies of the Lord are working. How the Lord is working, that is also difficult to understand. Nahyasya karhichit rajan puman ved vidsitam yad vijigyasaya yukta muhyanti kavayopihi. Bhishmadev is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj, don't try to understand why all these things have happened to you. Nobody can understand the plan of the Lord. Nahyasya karhichit rajan puman ved. Nobody can understand because he bewilders everyone. Yad vijigyasaya yukta muhyanti kavi. Even great kavis, great learned scholars are bewildered in understanding the Supreme Lord. So nobody can understand how the Achintya Shakti of the Lord is working. So this Achintya Shakti, inconceivable energies of the Lord, they act in creation, maintenance, and destruction. And there are two types of energies. Just like there are two types of energies possessed by fire, fire has heat and light. These are the two energies of fire. Similarly, these inconceivable creative energies have natural characteristics of absolute truth. It's like fire has heat and light. All these energies have the characteristics of Supreme Lord also. What are the characteristics of the Jiva? He quotes another verse from Vishnu Puran, the characteristics of Jiva. He gives four characteristics in 114 to 16 verse. He says, Kshetragya Shakti, Kshetragya. As Krishna also speaks in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetragya Vibhaga Yoga, 13th chapter. He says, one Kshetragya is the living entity. The living entity is aware of what is happening in his body only. But there is another Kshetragya, Kshetragya Chapi Mam Vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. I am also Kshetragya and I am aware of all the things which are happening in all the bodies. So living entity Kshetragya. And although the living entity has the facility to live either in spiritual world or in the material world, Sarvaga, Lord, living entity Sarvagataha, as Krishna says, Nitya Sarvagata Sthanu Rachaloyam Sanatana Sarvagataha. Material conditions can't destroy the soul. Soul doesn't depend on the material pursuits, material facilities to survive. Eternal. But although he can stay, the soul can stay in material and spiritual world, he suffers the threefold miseries because he is influenced by ignorance. In the spiritual world, there is no misery. But under the influence of ignorance, the living entity in this material world suffers. Adhibhautika, adhidaivika, adhyatmika klesh. Keeps on suffering. The covering of ignorance is the cause of all the suffering in this material world. Prabhupada writes, this is the conversation which happened between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramanand Rai. Ramanand Rai quoted that. Then Mahaprabhu continues. Living entities, they are covered by the influence of Nishayans and they exist in different forms. All the 84 lakh species of life are there. Depending on the amount of covering, one gets certain type of body. As Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, Dhumena vriyate vanhir yatha darsho malena cha yatholbena vrito garbhas tatha tenedam avritam. There are different levels of covering of living entities. Fire covering the fire covered by smoke, dhumena vriyate vahani. Mirror covered by the dust, yatha darsho malena cha. And embryo covered by the womb. Yatholbena vrito garbha. There are different levels of covering. The embryo is completely covered. Nobody can even understand there is embryo inside. When the mirror is covered with dirt, little bit is seen. Fire covered by the smoke, almost it is completely seen. Tatha tenedam avritam. Similarly, the living entity is covered by ignorance, covered by maya, lust. So these are different coverings of living entities. Animals, they are like embryo covered by plants. Plants, they are like embryo covered by womb. The life is not seen practically. Animals, mirror covered by dust. Human beings, fire covered with smoke. So depending on the degree of coverings, the expression of the soul varies to a greater or a lesser degree. Mahaprabhu quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 5th verse. Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim viddhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharyate jagat. There is another potency. Apareyam itastu anya. Apart from the material energy, apart from the all the material energies, there is another energy, apara. That is apara. If aparayam itastvanyam prakritim viddhime param, there is para prakriti also. That is jiva bhuta. The living entities are the para prakriti. And one very interesting word is used, yayedam dharyate jagat. These living entities are holding this universe. So how is it that living entities are holding this universe? It is as if somebody says the prisoners are maintaining the prison house. Why? If prisoners are not there, prison house will not be there. So prison house, the jail is maintained by prisoners only because they are there, jail is there. So because living entities are there, this world is there. That's why living entities are maintaining this material world. Yedam dharyate jagat. And then Mahaprabhu quotes another very, very famous verse. Krishna bhuli se jiva nadi bahir mukha ateva maya tare deya sansara dukkha. When a living entity enters this material universe, the first thing which happens is misidentification. He starts identifying himself not as servant of Krishna, but as enjoyer. That's why we have come here for. We forgot Krishna. When it happened, the word used here is Krishna Bhuli Sei Jiva Anadi Bahirmukh. Anadi means nobody knows when it happened. Anadi, Anadi Karama Phale Padi Bhavarnava Jane Tari Bare Na Dekhi Upa. Anadi Karma. When we came in this material world, nobody knows. But we did some mistake. Padi Bhavarnava Jale. So same thing Mahaprabhu is speaking here. Krishna Bhuli Sei Jiva Anadi Bahirmukh. We have turned our face away from Krishna. Time immemorially, we have turned our face away from Krishna. And that's why Maya Tare Deya Samsar Dukh. The moment we turn our face away from Krishna, Maya Devi pounces on us. Maya Tare Chhapatiya Dhare. Maya Devi catches us. And then Maya Devi starts torturing us by threefold miseries. Prabhupada writes, living entity is called marginal potency because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness, now he is situated in material energy. We forgot Krishna. That was our crime. We left Krishna. When it happened, nobody knows. So this question, when did the jiva fall? And why we came here? That is very difficult to answer. Because in spiritual world, the time as we conceive of in this material world as past, present, and future, the same thing is not there in spiritual world. There is only present tense there. There is no past, there is no future. We cannot even conceive of this reality. How can there be only present? There must be past, there must be future. That is our conditioned consciousness. We can never understand when did jiva fall. Because this time is completely different in spiritual world. We can never conceive of this reality. That's why Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked this question, he would say, what is the point of asking when? Why? The main question is, how can I go back? Ask that. Ask that question. And when you go back, you find out. Prabhupada writes, being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted by external illusory energy, and this is the beginning of material life. In Bhagavatam, third canto, there is the creation of ignorance. After this material universe was made, the first thing which Brahmaji created was ignorance. 5 types of ignorance: Tamishra, Andhatamishra, Moha, Mahamoha, and uh, fifth thing is called as Ajnana, ignorance. So different types of ignorance are created. One starts identifying with the body. One starts identifying things related with this body as mine. One starts having fear of death. So all these things are given to living entity when one comes in this material world. And then the pursuit of material enjoyment begins. Living entity thinks, I will enjoy. I have this body. I am controller. Ishwaroham, aham bhogi, siddhoham, balvan, sukhi. And endeavors life after life. But only thing which comes to a living entity is pain. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya pranoti. Only suffering comes because he does sinful activity also in pursuit of enjoyment, gets bound in this material world by relationships, attachments, which are like the shackles of this prison house. Tavad ragadayastena tavat karagraham graham yavan mohongri nigado yavan krishna natejana. If Krishna is not in the center, our griha will become kara griha. Our attachments are like the shackles. That is what happens with living entities in this material world. And when it happened, Prabhupada writes, Anadi, time immemorial. And because of this desire to enjoy Krishna Bahirmukha, because we have forgotten Krishna, Krishna Boli Sei Jiva Anadi Bahirmukha. So sometimes a living entity goes to the higher planetary systems, sometimes middle, sometimes lower, trying to enjoy. Sometimes enjoys, sometimes suffers. And actually, all the happiness of this world is like the example is given by Mahaprabhu. A king, he punishes the criminal by submerging him in water and then raising him again out of water, again putting him in water, again taking him out. And as he's taken out of the water, he thinks, wow, life is not so bad, only to be pushed again underwater. So that's the happiness of this world. Happiness means the gap between the two miseries. That is the happiness. That is very, very limited. Chapala sukha, very flickering happiness. Keep on troubling, keep on getting troubled by material modes. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Sometimes hellish, sometimes heavenly. Just like Bhagavatam says, the condition of a living entity is like a dog, street dog. Shutparito yatha deenam sarameyam griham griham charanavindanti addeenam dandam modanameva va. A dog, sarameya means a dog who is afflicted with hunger and thirst. Sometimes goes to one house, he is beaten, other house he is given something to eat. Similarly, a living entity, sometimes he is promoted to heavenly planets, enjoys there. Sometimes he is pushed to lower planets, hellish situations. Yatha kamashayo jiva bhuteshu chavacheshvanu upari yadheva madheva yati dishtam priya priyam. Similarly, a living entity, kama ashaya jiva, taking shelter of desires. Sometimes he enjoys, sometimes he suffers, priya apriya. Upari, adha, madhya, sometimes higher, sometimes middle, sometimes lower. He's suffering always. So that's how a living entity keeps traveling. Brahmanda Brahmite, that is going on. Prabhupada writes in the purport. Actually, living entity is uncontaminated by the material world. Asangoyam Purushaha. And as soon as one is free of this material contamination, he is Nitya Mukta. There are Nitya Muktas in spiritual world, they never come under the influence of material nature. They're always free. And there are Nitya Baddha. They have forgotten Krishna. And because they have forgotten Krishna, they are put under this material nature, they suffer. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha, madhya tishtanti rajasa, jaganniguna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasa. Keep on wandering. Brahmanda Brahmana is going on. And sometimes enjoyment, sometimes suffering. As it is described, Nityabadda Krishna hoite, Nityabahir mukha, Nitya samasara bhunje, nara kadi dukha. Eternally suffering in this world. Eternally means nobody knows when it started. Sei doshe maya pishachi dandakore tare, adhyatmikadi tapatre tare jari mare. Because of this desire, fault of enjoyment, independently from the Lord. Beaten by material energy, maya pishachi dandakore tare. And the result is fear. That is described in the next verse. When we turn our face away from Krishna, now I am on our own, on my own. I have to take care of everything. One time Srila Prabhupada was sitting in airport and all the devotees, they had come to send off Prabhupada to just, and they were waiting for the flight. Prabhupada was sitting in the lounge. And there was one devotee, a small child was there. He left his mother's finger and he just went around the airport for some distance. He was happy, laughing, playing around. And Prabhupada was looking at the small child. And Prabhupada told, oh, just see, he's so brave. He has left his mother and moving around alone, independently. And then the small child, he went a little distance. And he looked around. He didn't find his mother. And he became fearful, started crying. And Prabhupada was looking at him and he said, just see, this is the condition of material soul, living entity. We thought we will enjoy alone, separately from Krishna, and we have come here and now we are crying, we are suffering, fearful. A child who is completely dependent on his mother is fearless. My mother will take care of everything of mine. Why I should be fearful? Why I should be concerned? Now I'm on my own. I have to take care of everything. Result is anxiety, fear. Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata syad ishadapetasya viparyaya asmriti. What is bhay? Dutiya abhinivesh. When we are attracted by the second energy, the separated energy of Krishna. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatasya. We are not attracted to Krishna. We are attracted by the second energy of Krishna, that is material energy of Krishna. Ishad apetasya viparyaya asmriti. What is this viparyaya asmriti? When he's separated from the Supreme Lord, his condition of life is viparyaya, viparit, is reversed. What is reversed? Earlier he was servant of Krishna, now he is competitor of Krishna. We have changed our position, completely opposite. Earlier we were serving Krishna and now we are competing with Krishna. That creates fear. Tanmaya yato buddha abhajetam. So to nullify this mistake, all the learned scholars, all the great personalities, they have advised worship Krishna. The learned scholars, they worship Krishna to nullify this mistake. Tanmaya yato buddha abhajetam bhaktya eka esham gurudeva tatma. Worship Krishna as Bhakta Isha, as the spiritual master, as a guru, as worshipable deity, as life and soul. And this worship of the Lord frees one from this contamination. That is an unalloyed devotional service. So this bhaya arises because now I am independently behaving. I am competing with Krishna. I am attracted to material energy of Krishna. That creates fear. Everything of this world creates fear. There are 8 causes of fear, which Bhartrihari he describes. So the bhaya, it arises because I am attached to my family, to my beauty, to my body, to my reputation. All these are the causes of fear. So there's a beautiful verse, which I'm not able to recall that. In that, King Bhartrihari describes various types of fear which people have in this material world. Bhogi roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, vitte nripalad bhayam, mane dainya bhayam, bale ripu bhayam, rupe jaraya bhayam, shastre vadi bhayam, gune khala bhayam, kaye kritantad bhayam, sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvinam vairagyameva bhayam. A person wants to enjoy in this material world. Bhogi, he is fearful of disease. How will I enjoy if I am sick? Bhogi, roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam. A person who is born in high family, he is fearful of being thrown out of the family. Rupe jaraya bhayam. A beautiful person is fearful of old age. Shastre vadi bhayam, gune khal bhayam. Bhogi roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam. Vitte nripalad bhayam. Vitte, the person who is rich, he is fearful of king. He will put tax, he will take away his money. Mane dainya bhayam, a person who is respected, he is fearful of insult. Bale ripu bhayam, a person who is strong, he is fearful of more stronger person. Bhogi roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, vitte nripalad bhayam. Mane dainya bhayam, bale ripu bhayam, rupe jaraya bhayam. Shastre vadi bhayam, a person who is intelligent is fearful of another person who is more intelligent. Gune khala bhayam, a person who has good qualities is fearful of person with bad qualities. Kaye kritantad bhayam, a person who is attached to body, fearful of death. Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam. These are the 9 causes of death, not 8. 9 causes of fear. Everything in this world gives fearlessness. Fear. One thing gives fearlessness. What is that? Vairagyam eva abhayam. When we are detached from these material attachments, that gives fearlessness. The moment we realize that I am not this body, I am soul, I am part and parcel of Krishna, I am supposed to serve him, that gives fearlessness. Prabhupada describes this verse was spoken by one of the Navayogendras. His name was Kavi. One time, Narad Muni, he came to Dwaraka and he met Vasudeva, father of Krishna. And Vasudeva asked him about the principles of devotional service. Narad Muni, he started describing a conversation which happened between Navayogendras and King Nimi. Many wonderful discussions happened there. There were 9 great sages, Navayogendras, sons of Rishabdev. So they describe this wonderful verse. And Narad Muni, while describing this, he indicates how a conditioned soul, when he starts worshipping Krishna by the practice of devotional service, he gets liberated. Prabhupada writes, not only Krishna is supreme worshipable deity, he is also the Guru. He is Chaitya Guru, he is super soul, he is worshipable deity. And the last line of the verse is Bhaktyaika Esha Guru Devata Atma. He is the spiritual master, he is worshipable deity, and he is the source of life. So one who identifies himself with material energy, always fearful. And one who identifies with Supreme Lord becomes fearless. Sadhu Shastra Kripa yadi Krishnonmukha hoye, se jiva nistarit maya tara re chhade. Only by the mercy of Sadhu and Shastra, when one takes shelter of the scriptures, when one takes shelter of spiritual masters and the great sages, by their mercy, Sadhu, Shastra, Kripa, Yadi, Krishna Unmukh hoye. Now we have turned our face away, Bahirmukha. Krishna Bahirmukha hoya Jiva Bhogavan Chakare. Now, by the mercy of Sadhu and Shastra, Krishna Unmukha, when we turn our face towards Krishna, say Jiva Nistare. The living entity gets liberated from the clutches of material energy. And Maya Devi, she leaves him. She has no option but to leave the living entity. As soon as the living entity turns towards Krishna, Prabhupada writes, a conditioned soul who has forgotten Krishna as a spiritual master, he suffers. Saintly people, sadhus, Vaishnavas, they preach Krishna consciousness on the basis of scriptures, and they awaken Krishna consciousness in the heart of living entities. That which is dormant in the heart of living entities, it is there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kopunoy Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karayodaya. By the process of hearing, that same love which is dormant in our heart is awakened. Sadhu Shastra Kripa. It happens by the mercy of great devotees, sadhus, and the mercy of the scriptures. And naturally, one becomes detached. Bhakti Paresha Anubhavo Virakti Anyatra Chaisha Traka Eka Kala. Three things are simultaneously present when we practice devotional service. They automatically come. Devotional sentiments increase, one experiences the presence of Krishna, and one gets detached from the material world. Prabhupada writes, this is the test of advancement in Krishna consciousness. How much we have become detached from the material world. If somebody says, मेरा भक्ति first class चल रहा है, whatever I was doing, I am doing, I have started chanting also, and I am doing all the other things just to balance. No. Virakti has to come. One has to become detached. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagya. Vairagya has to come. If it is not coming, then there is some problem. There is some mistake in our practice of devotional service. Otherwise, it is default setting of devotional service. Virakti has to be there. And gradually, one is freed from the clutches of material energy. दैवी हेषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते. There is no way to get free from material energy apart from surrendering to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, Maya Tare Chhadaye will not happen. Maya Devi will never leave. Wherever Krishna is there, Maya cannot be there. कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया है अंधकार, यहाँ कृष्ण तहा नहीं माया अधिकार. As in the second canto also, it is described that Mayam Chatat Apashrayam. Maya Devi was standing behind Krishna. Wherever Krishna is there, Maya Devi can't stand in front of Krishna. She feels ashamed to stand in front of Krishna. That's what Vyasdev also saw in his meditation. And this verse will come. Yaya sammohito jivo trigunam trigunatmakam. Yaya sammohito jivo. Living entities, they are bewildered by material energy. Paropi manute enartham tatkritam chavi padyate. Vyasdev saw that Maya Devi and Krishna, they are both there. Maya Devi is standing at the back. Mayam Chatat Apashrayam. Prabhupada writes another, Mahaprabhu tells another very, very famous verse. Maya Mukta Jiver Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan Jivera Kripaye Koila Krishna Veda Puran. A conditioned soul, Maya Mukta Jiva, they cannot revive their Krishna consciousness by their own effort. As Prahlad Maharaj told told Hiranyakashipu, "Oh my father, you will never develop this consciousness of surrendering to Krishna. You will not develop by your own effort, by the effort of your other demoniac friends and ministers, nor by the combined effort of everyone. Only when you will do the Abhishek, Mahatpad Rajobhishekam is the only way by which you can get Krishna consciousness. By one's own effort, one can never come to this Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Krishna, out of his mercy, Jivera Kripai Koila Krishna Veda Puran, Krishna has given these scriptures and all the Puranas and the Itihas, so that the living entity, the living entity who is covered with material energy can get liberated. Prabhupada writes, Maya's business is to keep the conditional soul forgetful of Krishna. Never allows the conditioned souls to come out of the clutches. She will just keep entangling the living entities, and she will just put all the illusory spells so that the living entity can keep sleeping on the lap of Maya. And when the living entity is sleeping, sometimes we get nightmares. A lion is chasing and a person is running in dream, sweating. And if he somehow tries to get up, Maya Devi will say, no, please keep sleeping, not so bad. That's the job of material energy. That's why Mahaprabhu comes and says, Jiva Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, Koto Nidra Jao Maya, Pishachira Bole. Wake up, sleeping conditioned souls, wake up. Till how long you will sleep on the lap of Maya? So till the time you don't get up, all the miseries of this world, which are nothing of soul, nothing pertaining to soul, they look very real. For the person who is suffering in the dream, for him the suffering is real. Although it has no existence, but still the person who is suffering in the dream, for him, till the time he's sleeping, the suffering is real. Till the time we don't come out of this clutches of Maya, the suffering is real. So that's how Krishna, he wants to take living entities out of these clutches. Yaya sammohito jivo atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manutenartham tatkritam chavipadyate. Living entities are completely bewildered, thinking that I am this body, and things which are related to this body are mine. That's why Supreme Lord has created the Vedas and scriptures so that we can come out of this. Prabhupada writes, this is the description of Maya's actions on the conditioned soul. Because we start thinking that I am the product of the material energy, I will engage in service of material energy. And then one becomes servant of Kama Krodhera Dasahaya Taralati Khai. He is beaten by material energy. He becomes servant of Kam and Krodha, Anartha, all these Anarthas, Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. Completely loyal servant. We have served our Anarthas for lifetimes. We have served all these material energies for lifetimes. But they have never given any relief, no peace. Kamadinam katina katitha palita durnidesha tesham jata maina karuna natrapano I have served my anarthas for many, many lifetimes. They have never given me relief, no peace, no compassion. So one becomes a loyal servant. One becomes servant of mental speculation. I am God. So that's mental speculation. He becomes completely covered by material energy. So therefore, Krishna, out of his compassion, he comes and gives Ved and Puran. He comes as Vyasdev. Vyasdev is Shaktiavesh avatar. And Vyasdev has written all these Veda, Puran, Itihas, so that ultimately one can come out of this illusion of material world. Prabhupada writes, although there is an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading all the useless literatures. As Bhagavatam describes, first canto, there is transcendental literature, there is material literature. Transcendental literatures, they are the pilgrimage or place for swans. And material literatures, Tadvaya Samtirthamushanti Manasa, they are the pilgrimage of crows. Tadvaga Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abadhavatyapi. Although they are imperfectly composed, but still they are glorified by great saintly people. Namanyanantasya Shonkitanya Shanmanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava. The people who are materialistic, they don't read such literatures. They'll read all the useless literatures, which are like poison. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is saying, Jivera Kripaya Koila Krishna Veda Puran. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue from verse number 123 next time. Hare Krishna. श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्री लक्ष्मीदास कविराज गोस्वामी की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.